welcome to our first Faculty-to-Faculty session featuring Dr. Laurie Linhart. Am I saying that correct? Linhart?
Okay. You are, yes.
Awesome. So she is on faculty actually at DMAC and teaching directing the honors program, but has had a history of teaching in the sociology program here at Drake. And so we've invited her today to talk about her experience of teaching in the online space as it relates to doing community engaged pedagogy and the role that that plays in her courses, and trying to learn what stumbling blocks you have overcome, what maybe some of the heed points are, but then also what would have been some of the success points as well. So I don't know, Laurie, if you want to say anything else about your background that you think would be helpful, or introduce yourself further.
Well, I'm a proud Drake graduate. I graduated back in the dark ages with my bachelor's degree in religion, and I was so taken by Dean and Sue Wright in the sociology department, along with others, that I got my master's and PhD from Iowa State in sociology. So, but I think fondly about Drake, and I love to teach the JTerm sociology of childhood. It really feeds my soul to be with some of those upper class men and women, since DMAC is only a 2-year school, of course. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so perfect segue. Could you tell us more about the JTerm course that you teach, and kind of the structure, how the course has been taught in the past, because it was taught by someone else before you took it over. And so
Dr. Darcy Vandergrift taught it the first year and worked the bugs out of it, and then passed it along to me. And I think this will be my 6th JTerm coming up this year, if I'm not mistaken. And I've really not deviated much from how she built the course. We've always worked with children and family urban movement, and it's a significant portion of the class. We do in-class learning, or last year it was virtual synchronous learning, structured around the Corsaro book called Sociology of Childhood. We read other snippets of books and journal articles, and the students are expected to present sections of the Corsaro book and tie it back in journal writing fashion to what they're experiencing with the kids and the staff at CFUM. At the end of the semester, they present an autobiography of their childhood and a portfolio of all of the work that they've done throughout the semester, including the journal article, the journal writing. The journal writing is some free form, so I leave it up to them to choose what they want to journal about. But then in addition to that, I've got some specific prompts that I want them to be reflecting on. They do a considerable amount of volunteering at CFUM. Up until the pandemic, that was of course done face-to-face with the kids, and it was done before school and then after school. CFUM has gone through some funding difficulties, and so rather than they're having a morning opportunity, there's just after school now, and it's K through 5 when it used to be K through 8. They lost some United Way funding, and so they had to cut the 7th and 8th grade, or excuse me, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade programming. And I'm not sure, Sabrina and I have not touched base about what next year is going to look like. We need to do that very, very soon. She alluded that they're short-staffed, so that tells me that they're experiencing either lack of funding or they just can't find staff. And so the Drake students play a very crucial role, particularly in that time when the students, the kids from CFUM are out of school, because they provide then even more programming. So the students are expected to be on the premises. Initially, we said 20 hours per week, but now we've dropped that down to 10 because 20 was just way too much. They couldn't fulfill those hours as a result of the pandemic. And, you know, I kind of think I like it that way because they gave quality time as opposed to quantity time. And for the student athletes, it just doesn't fit into their schedule to do that many hours. CFUM is very flexible and will allow students to come in and do office work. That's not ideal, but in order to get, you know, their hours fulfilled, that's what we had done in the past. The key this last year was communication with Sabrina. She was my point person, and we really had to do some significant planning and strategizing. And it worked well, all being, you know, said. It seemed like it came out okay. It wasn't the rich experience that we've had in the past, but we made it work. I typically take the students on a walk through the neighborhood. If you're familiar with where CFUM sits, it's on the corner of 8th and College. And that neighborhood is a very eclectic international neighborhood that have several very important institutions, including the John R. Grubb Y, the library, the Evelyn K. Davis Center, Sea Fresh Market, Urban Campus, DMAC's Urban Campus sits right there. And so we have in years past taken a full tour of the neighborhood. And I've asked the students to take photos and make notes, and then we sit down and debrief about what they've seen, because, you know, sociology is all about the culture that we're embedded in. And so I want the Drake students to really experience that culture and talk about it. We also, Drake students are also expected to attend one meal per week in the evening. CFUM is a meal site for the neighborhood, and oftentimes the CFUM kids and their families attend those meals. In addition to anybody can attend. They're free meals, and I tell the Drake students they aren't allowed to huddle in the corner as a group, that they need to intersperse throughout the group, the others that are attending, and not be, you know, intrusionary, but rather, you know, interact and really come away with what they feel about, you know, attending something like that, and what they observe going on. So I'm rambling.
One question I do have, or to clarify, so the course for this past year, due to the pandemic, so it's traditionally been a face-to-face course, and it went to instruction online. Was the community or the service component online this time around as well? And what did that look like?
How did
navigate changing that, and what did that look like?
Yeah, so we split the students up into interest groups, the Drake students, and we had one group that was kind of a physical fitness sort of group with the itty bitties, and they taught them. One of the Drake students was a dance instructor. And so that group did some fun physical fitness kinds of things with the students. And then at the end of the time together, they presented the dance that they had learned. And we were synchronous online. The students were in the space at Moulton Elementary, and then the Drake students were remote from their homes or wherever they were. The second group was a group that focused on reading a book, and it was kind of a book club, if you will. And there were a group of Drake students that were very interested in literature and helped the students read. They actually did some reading aloud. These were a little bit upper grade students, and this was a book that CFUM had chosen and wanted the kids to learn about. And then there was another group that was associated with math and science, and they did the typical fun math and science sorts of experiences. But I let the Drake students lead those efforts. I said, think about what you're good at, what may be out of your comfort zone, and you choose what you think would appeal to the kids. The challenges we experienced were trying to keep the students' interest and focus. The CFUM kids, they had just come from virtual, learning, and so here's more virtual. But we tried to keep it short and sweet. I was always present, bopping in and out of each of the classrooms and the Zoom classrooms, trying to keep, things. And that was a real benefit, because I haven't been able to do that in the past. I've not been able to be 3 places at once, or it really, that was a benefit of being remote. So did that answer your question, Renee?
Good. And just one more clarification. So the students got to, I love that they looked at who they are. So the self-awareness piece of what skill sets, knowledge, experience do I have? Were the kind of the bigger themes like fitness or whatever determined by your partner, or was your partner, like, what was the role in the partner helping you to identify what the need was you were going to meet?
She clearly was in the driver's seat. I said, where could we be the most help? What do you see from the CFUM kids and their needs, their interests, and how can we help you with different groups? We had long conversations. I mean, this was more intense planning than we have done, and I think that's key to make sure that there is a good conversation. And I'm thinking about going forward, how might it look? Might we do some remote stuff? Might we do some, I don't know. That's what Sabrina and I need to kind of kick around.
Yeah. So I think a question I want to end on, and then invite any of the participants on today's call to ask their own questions, would be thinking about from the lens, let's say, of our instructional designers. If they have a faculty member who's be teaching online, and they're trying to design what that course is going to look like, and they would like to have a community component, or maybe they haven't considered it, but community component could be a way to meet their learning objectives. What would be your, I don't know how to say this, your recommendation, or what would you say to a faculty member considering it but maybe hesitant? Why should they consider this as a strategy? What value or benefit did it bring to the course, to the students, to you maybe as an instructor, or did it?
I think flexibility is probably one of the top considerations. I think it opens up a lot more, how should I say, a lot more opportunity. I think that having the ability to remote in maybe others that aren't a part of the course but could benefit the community partner. For example, maybe a children's author, or someone that I'm just trying to think about, what appeals to kids and how we could bring somebody that is a long ways away that would normally charge a lot of money to make a guest appearance. And I think that, it benefits the community partner by having an ability to engage in some things that maybe they aren't able to otherwise. It gives the Drake students flexibility. If they can't be on site for some reason, they're able to still participate. So I think it's just flexibility all the way around and opportunity.
Do you think it enhanced your students' learning?
Yes. Most definitely. I mean, otherwise that volunteer component, that a community service component would have been completely missing.
Yeah. Right. Well, we have a couple minutes left. Is there anyone that's been listening today that has a question that you've been rumbling with? You're either welcome to unmute and ask, or if you want to put it in the chat and I can ask on your behalf.
Dr. Linhart, I was just wondering if you could speak to the opposite side. Was there anything this last term, obviously fits and starts with any time you change a program, but was there anything you felt intrinsically that was lost from the experience as a result of the online mediation?
Well, there's nothing quite like being surrounded by 45 kindergarten through fifth graders face to face. That the Drake students, and it's much better than what it was when I graduated, but are typically not familiar with the level of international exposure that these CFUM kids bring. And it's a little one-dimensional, right? When you're on screen with someone, it's better than nothing. But there is something to be said for being totally immersed in an uncomfortable, for the most part. Some of the students are Drake students are very comfortable, but there's nothing quite like it. The energy level is totally different when you're face to face. So that was a big loss, most definitely. But the Drake students had to navigate around that, right? They had to think strategically about, how am I going to keep these kids engaged, and why isn't this working today, and how can we as a group problem solve this? So that was a plus.
Just attended a dissertation defense around virtual reality, and it's got me thinking, like, in the future, is there going to be technology where we could literally put on goggles here in my office, but yet I would be standing in CFUM?
Yeah.
That would be cool. So
that would be very cool.
Any other questions for Dr. Linhart? Do you have anything, Laurie, that you would, that we haven't covered, or that you think you would want to share that we haven't asked?
Just to comment, I guess, about the importance of this kind of learning. I see the Drake students change in 3 weeks, unbelievably. They come in, they don't necessarily know each other, or if they know each other, it's in a very different space than what they've been accustomed to. For them to take this leap into a very different kind of learning style, right? I tell them very beginning of the semester, I say, this isn't like any other class you've ever taken. And so don't expect that I'm going to be the sage on the stage. You're going to be empowered for your own learning, with your own learning. And that it's not going to be the typical Drake class. And I see them build community within themselves. I see them build community with people that don't look like them. And so they're stretched beyond their typical learning experience. And at the end of the semester, we reflect on that, most definitely.
Cool. And yeah, that's a key point too that we have not dove into, but yeah, just the role in general of reflection and keeping that as an aspect, even if it's a online or virtual experience. So, well, I want to thank you for your time and for joining us.
I'm so sorry that I had to crawl in the back window and have.
No worries. I think we were still able to accomplish our goals and objectives today, and I've appreciated learning a little bit more about the class and the partnership. So.
And I invite any of you to reach out again. Renee's got my email address at DMAC, and I would invite you to attend a class session if you would like to see us in action. I know that we'd all be better for it. So you have a standing invitation.
All right. Will you be teaching in face-to-face or online again?
We haven't decided yet. I think we're back face to face. I'm hopeful, and it may look different. It may be a hybrid. So we might meet Monday, Wednesday face to face, and Friday hybrid. And then the expectation would be volunteering in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So Sabrina and I need to get together and strategize.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your time. And it looks like you are going to continue to be a guinea pig in figuring out what this can look like in a post-pandemic world. So keep me posted. And,
I will. I'm up for it. Right?
That's great. Well,
thanks for the conversation.